You're listening to the Online Business Blueprint. I'm John Stange, and it's great to be with you this week. As always, our podcast is brought to you by PlatformLaunchers.com. At Platform Launchers, you can learn how to build, grow, and monetize your online platform. You can do that with me and with our members club and just a whole group of excellent people who are building message-based online platforms. We're building our businesses. We're taking our passion, turning them into platforms, and earning a paycheck from it. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how to do that, stop by platformlaunchers.com. Now, our topic this week is all about teaching. And specifically, we're going to be asking a question in just a moment. Should your online business be teaching the teachers? Now, I'll explain what I mean by that in just a few moments. But before we do, one quick thing. I've got to introduce a teacher to you. One of the members of our members club, Jody Skinner, has a new book out. And I asked her if she would share a little bit about it with you just for 30 seconds so that you can hear something that I think could have a great benefit for you and possibly your entrepreneurial endeavors. So, Jody Skinner, take it away. Tell us about the book.
Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate your encouragement. Yes, I'm Jody Skinner. I run Skinner Book Services, which is an author service platform that helps authors get from, oh, hey, I wrote a book to, okay, here's where you can buy the book. So if authors are trying to format their own books as part of getting it ready for publishing, then for your book text, you have to think about your fonts and your spacing. You have print and ebook formatting that you have to get right, or the platforms will reject it. And so the software called Vellum reduces a lot of the overwhelm that just kind of naturally comes with the process of getting your book text to where you can actually publish it. So I wrote a book that is full of start to finish stuff on how to use the Vellum book formatting software, and the updated version is releasing this week. So it's called Format Your Book with Vellum, and it is the third edition updated for 2025. I'm giving away the ebook for the next week or so, but if people are running across this later on, then they can come to my website and join my newsletter and find out when the next giveaway is going to be.
Love it. Do you happen to have a book handy for those that are watching us on video?
Oh, I have this is my second edition with all my flags that are things that I updated, but the
Excellent.
third edition print book is available now. The ebook will be available soon. And
Format your book with Vellum. And what's the best website where they can go and just kind of check out all the things that you offer?
it's on my Skinner Book Services website, which is at skinnerbooks.com.
Skinnerbooks.com. Definitely check it out. Jody Skinner, thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
And congrats on the new book. Love it. All right, friends. Well, back to our topic here. And by the way, definitely check out skinnerbooks.com and all the things that Jody's doing over there. But we were just talking about, the nature of how we structure our online businesses. And I'll mention this, I guess, here at the outset. There are all kinds of business models worth considering when you're starting an online business. Maybe if you're in the process of developing a business, like an online business, a message-based platform, something like that that trains others. I'm sure you've probably given thought to at least one of the models, particularly what we typically call the teacher to student model. Many people, if they're developing a message based online platform, that's the model that they utilize, the teacher to student model. It's a great model. It's what many message based online platforms are centered around. And I'd certainly encourage you to utilize that at least for a part of what you do. The teacher to student model, like I said, excellent model for an online platform, one of the most common approaches. But if you would, I'd like to just take a moment to encourage you to consider what I would say is a related model that I don't hear people talk about with quite as much regularity. I hear about the teacher to student model, but I don't hear about this other model quite regularly or quite as regularly as I would like to. And the model that I'm speaking of is the teacher to teacher model, the teacher to teacher model. And I'm convinced that it's one of the most effective and potentially one of the most lucrative models that exists in the online world. Now, in my online business, so if you're familiar with platform launchers, you can check out, the different things that I do in platform launchers and the way I have the business structured. You can look at some of the other online things that I'm doing, but generally speaking, in my online business, you'll notice that I utilize both models that I've mentioned so far. I utilize the teacher to student model because I like it, but I also utilize the often forgotten about teacher to teacher model. And so I'm going to show you some details about what this looks like because I think that you're going to find it extremely beneficial, and it's entirely possible that it's not something that you've given that much thought to because I don't actually hear people talk about it all that often. I love teaching others how to build their online platforms. I love teaching others how to build and develop scalable monetization strategies. We'll even do a little bit of that together in the time of our podcast this week. But some of the people that I work with are primarily looking for information and ideas to help themselves. So that would be teacher to student model. If people are looking for information to help themselves, I would certainly understand that, one of the most common models, but others are looking to do something in addition to that. Some are not just looking to hear helpful information for themselves, they're also looking for tools that will help them prepare to teach and mentor others. So which category would you say, even before I go into further detail here, which category do you fall in? Are you someone, when you access content, are you primarily looking at it from the teacher to student model where you're saying, all right, you're the teacher, I'm the student, teach me? Or are you looking at it from the teacher to teacher perspective where you're saying, all right, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher, teach me to teach better. Teach me to teach, or show me how I can utilize a platform that teaches others and let me utilize the content you're creating to help me facilitate that. And I wonder, even as I bring that up, have you ever personally considered, if you haven't done so already, have you ever personally considered some of the benefits of utilizing the teacher to teacher model? Now, sometimes this is called the multiplier model. I've also heard it called the cascading mentorship model. But when you use a model like this, what you do is you find that your business begins mentoring people who will then mentor others, and the outcomes for the people that you serve, coupled with the outcomes that your business experiences, can be quite impressive. So let me kind of walk you through. I'm going to walk you through 5 reasons why I actually really like this model. And when I get to number 4 here, number 4 is the longest. That's the monetization aspect of this. So I'll go into some detail about that. Let me just walk you through 5 reasons why I really like the teacher to teacher model when you're building an online business. And one is this: it allows you to develop what could be said is like exponential impact. Let me explain that for a second. So for starters, consider the fact that the teacher to teacher model is a scalable model. This is something that scales up. So when you train a mentor, you're not just helping one person, you're enabling that person that you mentor to then help many other people. So that's what I mean when I say that it scales up, that it's something that allows you to exponentially end up serving quite a few people, not just one person. So what happens is over time, your business begins to experience the positive effects that come with networking as each generation of mentors potentially they grow your reach, they grow your influence as you are mentoring mentors. So that's one of the benefits of a teacher to teacher model. There is a certain level of exponential impact because you're working with people who actively influence other people. So that's one piece. But a second piece is this. You may notice that if you utilize a teacher to teacher model, again, you're mentoring other people who will mentor others. You're mentoring them to mentor others in many respects. You'll notice the second benefit, and that's that it can develop what I would say is like a stronger community or ecosystem within your own brand. So the teacher to teacher model, what it does is it contributes to like a supportive culture that I think fosters connection, it fosters accountability, it fosters shared growth. And as the culture of your business matures, you'll notice that the people you're serving may feel more invested in your mission or in your brand because it becomes clear that their connection to what you're doing, so your mission, your brand, their connection to it, it's actively assisting them in their attempts to teach and lift up others. I recently implemented a mentorship program within Platform Launchers. I started that last year. And that's something that I've actually noticed as a benefit within my own ecosystem. It's made the community and ecosystem that I'm developing here at Platform Launchers a little bit stronger because I've got people who are saying, you know what, being tied to your brand is helping me with my brand and what I'm building. And it just builds that community. I think it even builds just a sense of loyalty because there's shared benefit. A third reason why the teacher to teacher or mentor to mentor model I think is beneficial is it also contributes to credibility and authority. And I had a conversation with someone earlier today related to this very concept. So I'll mention part of that in just a moment. But this is something that I think all of us should really consider because if we're going to earn an income online, our income is always going to be directly tied to the authority that we develop online. So let me elaborate on that for just a moment. So just a few hours ago, I had the privilege of having a conversation with another online content creator who is attempting to build her credibility. She's attempting to build her authority. And just like I mentioned just a moment ago, I reminded her that the majority of income she makes from her online business, it's going to be directly tied to the authority that she establishes. The teacher to teacher model, which we're highlighting here this week, is a model that can help you build your authority. And what happens is when you have your mentees, so the people that you're mentoring, when they successfully then mentor others, it ends up showcasing the effectiveness of your teaching, which lends credibility to what you're doing and it builds your authority. Your reputation can actively get a boost when other people basically start seeing you as a leader of leaders, not just a coach, but a leader of leaders. And this elevates your authority in your niche. Now, personally speaking, I'm actually reading, well, I shouldn't say I'm reading it because I bought the book, but I haven't read it yet. But I'm reading a John Maxwell book on this idea of leadership multiplication. And I recently read something from J. Oswald Sanders on the idea of leadership replication because that's a subject that I care about. And I want to hear what other leaders have to think about it or what they have to say about it. And personally speaking, and maybe you feel the same way, personally speaking, I consider leaders who have the capacity to reproduce additional leaders. I consider them to be some of the most effective and admirable leaders. I have a high degree of respect for leaders who replicate themselves and give leadership away. Their ideas tend to outlast them because they are then invested in the lives of so many other people. And so what ends up happening if you utilize a teacher to teacher model where you as a teacher train other people to be teachers, you develop credibility and you develop authority by developing those leaders, and some of your DNA, your leadership DNA works its way into the leadership and the lives of the other people that are served through the people you serve. But now let's talk about some of the revenue opportunities that can come from the teacher to teacher model. And I have a lot to share about this here. And I hope something I share here would be beneficial to you. Some of it I'm going to go through quickly, but let me just start by saying this. The teacher to teacher model really can be a rather effective tool when it comes to increasing the overall revenue that you're earning from your online platform. There are many people, myself included, who are willing to pay more for services that have the potential to earn them additional revenue. And that's why so many young adults, like when you think about the purpose of college and what people are trying to do with college, that's why so many adults are young adults in particular are willing to pay as much as they do for a college education because they see their tuition as an investment in an eventual career, right? This is something that they're investing in now that they think will eventually become a career that can sustain their financial well-being long into the future. So if your online business aims to teach teachers, you may want to do a variety of things that are of benefit to those teachers, including considering offering various forms of licensing and certification, because this not only gives you an opportunity to like serve those who are coming to you for education, but it also allows you to, as you're teaching those that you're serving, as you're teaching them important client, you're also giving them a stamp of approval from you or your brand that confirms that they have achieved the appropriate level of training or received the appropriate amount of teaching and counsel for the task or for the profession that they're embarking on. And if you're doing that, if you offer licensure, if you offer some form of certification in this teacher to teacher model that you build with your online platform, you could actually start using multiple tracks or tiers for those that you're training. It's very common if you look at various certification programs for them to offer tracks for beginners and then a track for those that maybe have a little bit more experience than the beginners, and then a track for those who would be the advanced students. You have multiple tiers, multiple tracks. And when you offer those multiple tiers, it can actually help you from a business standpoint retain potential clients a little bit longer than standard when you compare that to just a solitary purchase. So you offer multiple tracks that help them advance through the ranks of what you're teaching, and they may be able to stay your client a little bit longer than someone who just comes and receives just one thing from your overall brand or platform. But that's not the only way that you can capitalize on some revenue when it comes to this teacher to teacher model. I actually have a list here that I want to walk you through, just a few things to maybe spark a few ideas for you related to some revenue generating ideas that work really nicely with the teacher to teacher model. And I have a list here. I'm going to walk you through them. The first one is this: the mentor licensing and franchise model. And what you do with that is you charge a fee for mentees to use your curriculum, for them to be able to use your branding, for them to be able to use your tools as certified mentors. Some people even do territory-based franchising. I don't have personal plans to do that. There's some people that do that where they assign geographic or niche territories to certified mentors, and then those people pay for exclusivity to be able to work in a particular area. So you could do some licensing and some franchising in this model. Especially if you're offering certifications and that stamp of approval. You can also, in this teacher to teacher model, start offering high ticket masterminds or leadership programs. There are some people that I'm well aware of who offer invite only masterminds for their top performing mentees, so that they can collaborate, so that they could gain advanced training, so that they could gain access to some insider tools and things like this. I see some people that charge somewhere around like $2,000 for something like that, and then they'll limit the program for a few months. I also know people that charge $20,000 plus for something like that. I even know one person. I don't know him well, but I know him enough, and I know he charges $25,000. And this was for, I kid you not, just a 30-day program. $25,000 for a 30-day program where it's like a high ticket mastermind with him, but he can demand that kind of price tag because he's figured some things out, and the people that he mentors, they actually get a lot of benefit and a lot of teaching from what he offers. It includes direct access to him, private retreats, co-branding privileges, stuff like that. It's, pretty pricey, but can be valuable, and it might be something that you could utilize in your own business. Some people also, when they have that teacher to teacher model, will do done for you business kits, and that can include some pre-built coaching starter kits for some of the people that are just getting started with mentoring. So you can, give them templates that they could use on their website. You could give them email copy, basically, write out some emails for them that they could just swap out a few keywords and their name, but you've got it all typed out for them. And then they could they could utilize that. They don't have to come up with it from scratch. You could give out lead magnets. Maybe you have some proprietary material or ebooks or things like that that you could utilize as an e-magnet or a lead magnet. You could have like certain workflows that you incorporate into this as like a done for you business kit. You could give them some marketing scripts. There's kind of like unlimited potential that you could utilize with some of these things. There's also subscription models that people have utilized with this teacher to teacher method. And that's, oftentimes, like where they'll have subscriptions for private mentoring communities, weekly expert calls or office hours, resource libraries, ongoing training updates. I utilize a subscription model with platform launchers. I find it highly beneficial. I have a vault of all kinds of content and all sorts of tools. We do the office hours, we do the weekly training calls, stuff like that. I love the subscription model. That could be a good teacher to teacher model if that's not something that you already utilize. Something else that could be part of this teacher to teacher model relates to affiliate commissions. Mentors, you could say, the people that you're mentoring to mentor, they can earn commissions by bringing new mentees into your system or into your program. And then you can earn a percentage from their sales if they use your system or your platform. And basically what you do is you could use software. I use Kajabi for stuff like this, but you could create an internal affiliate or referral ecosystem that works really well with the teacher to teacher model. You could also have a train the trainer workshop session where you offer in-depth workshops that help mentors improve their facilitation, their communication methods, their business skills, things like that. You could do these things virtually, maybe via Zoom or through some other cohort-friendly platform. You could also do in-person retreats and intensives. I haven't done an in-person retreat in a little while, but we've done a few of them here with platform launchers, and they tend to be highly beneficial. There are people in our group that have experienced some notable breakthroughs through some of these. We had one on just a little while ago as one of our guest experts. If you want to go through the archives and hear what B. Andreen had to say, she shared about how the in-person retreat that we did a little while back in Charlotte, North Carolina, was one of the key things that really helped her with just a breakthrough with her business, which was really exciting. You could also, let me offer just a couple other things here as suggestions that can be useful in this teacher-to-teacher model under the revenue streams. You could have books and workbooks and toolkits and stuff like that you make available to them, like a mentor's field guide or a journal for clients or a framework flashcard set or niche-specific coaching templates. That's something that when people get into coaching, they're often looking for templates that you could just hand them so that they know how to structure a coaching session so it's not just starting blank. They could actually, from start to finish, bring benefit to their client using the system that you provide for them. There's a variety of other things too, but I'll also mention this. Speaking and consulting and partnerships can also be part of this because as the business grows, you start to become a recognized authority and you can charge for your keynotes, you could charge for panel appearances, you could charge for consultations with larger networks who want to replicate your model. And by the way, this is just, and I have more on my list here, but I wanted to give you a sample of some of the main ones. But this is how that teacher to teacher model can oftentimes be monetized. But there's something I appreciate about this model even more than the ways in which it can be monetized. And it can be monetized in many more ways than even what I just listed. But there's one other thing that I want to highlight that I think is a real benefit of the teacher to teacher model, and that's personal fulfillment. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I was recently having a discussion with my friend Dave Wiedis. By the way, Dave Wiedis is the author of The Spiritually Healthy Leader. I just did an interview with him on my Dwell on These Things podcast, if you want to check that out. But definitely check out that book. Very helpful book. Dave leads a ministry called Serving Leaders, and their website, servingleaders.org. And one of his aims is to invest in leaders so that they can make investments in the lives of others. I genuinely appreciate him. I genuinely appreciate his ministry and his mindset. And having recently spoken with him just a few weeks ago, I'm certain he would tell you that he finds the work that he's doing particularly fulfilling. And you'll notice that the model that he's utilizing is a teacher-to-teacher model. It's a teacher-to-teacher model in the sense that he, as a teacher, is oftentimes working with other teachers or other leaders. So you could say in his context, it might be like a leader-to-leader model, but it's the same thing as the teacher-to-teacher model. And when you're doing work like that, when you're doing work that effectively serves others, there is a unique satisfaction that comes in creating that ripple effect of positive change. The teacher-to-teacher business model gives you the opportunity to make that kind of impact. And I'll tell you what, the older we get, I think about this personally, maybe you think about this with yourself. The older we get, the more we start thinking about things like the purpose behind our work. And the more we start thinking about the legacy that we're leaving for those who may come after us. With the teacher-to-teacher model, one of the beauties of it is you're not just teaching skills. Teaching skills is wonderful, but you're not just teaching skills. You're shaping leaders. You're shaping other teachers. And I think that there's just a really fulfilling aspect to that kind of business model. So, all that to say, if you're in the process of building your online message-based business, give this model a thought. The thought of teaching teachers to be teachers or working with teachers who want to teach other people. What you may discover is that it might become one of the most rewarding approaches to entrepreneurship that you have ever experimented with. This is something, like I said, that I think a lot about. There are people like Sanders, who has written about this in his book, Spiritual Leadership. You also have John Maxwell, who recently wrote a book called The Leader's Greatest Return. I haven't read that yet, but I just picked up a copy, so I want to check it out. But one of the things that I really love reading about is leadership replication. It's something I try to model in ministry. It's something that I try to model in my online business. And it's something that I would encourage you to model if you're building a message-based online platform. Utilize a teacher-to-teacher model as part of what you're doing overall. I think you're going to find it personally fulfilling, but I think that it has a gratifying effect in that it is scalable and it can end up impacting people far beyond the initial people that you actually work with. Before we finish up, I just want to remind you to stop over at platformlaunchers.com. We've got a whole bunch of things over there, some freebies and some other tools that will help you as you build, grow, and monetize your online platform. Platformlaunchers.com, that's the spot to go. But that's it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us as we hammer out some of these thoughts. It's always a pleasure to be able to spend this time together with you. Looking forward to being able to do this together again very soon. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to catching you on next week's episode. Take care.